Today we're going to talk about how we got Winston from Italy to America. Hey guys, welcome back to Living with J&M. Today we're going to be talking about how we got our 80-pound dog from Italy all the way to America. We're going to be talking about this today because whenever I was in Italy and I was trying to scramble and figure out and run around how I was going to get my precious dog all the way back to America with me, I was really frustrated and trying to find information, trying to call the airlines. I searched YouTube, I did all these things, and I could not find one personal experience that I could watch, that I could visually see, that I could get good comments back on. So I really want to sit down and discuss the steps we took that the airline provided for us, that I got from other people, and also that our vet told us, so that if you're PCSing or if you're just moving in general from Europe to America, this is what you can do. Now, I just want to let you know that this is our experience. This is something that's very specific to what we did. We PCSed from a specific unit to a specific place. We flew on a specific airline. Our dog was a specific weight and height. We had a specific kennel. So that all being said, throughout this video, I want to give you some tips, but I also want to let you know that this might be a totally different situation for you, but I hope this can relate and help you out in the long run. So a little bit about our backstory. Jon and I were stationed in Vicenza, Italy. So while we lived in Italy, and we'll make a video exactly how we got our dog, but I moved there in November, and that February we got our dog Winston. And so we had bought our dog in Italy. We didn't ship him over there, so this is just my experience from getting him from Italy to America. But that being said, the base in Vicenza, Italy is very small. One of the first things we did is we searched for a kennel, because I know that because of this base is small and there's a lot of people with a lot of dogs, people are going to need a kennel all the time, and they're going to need it if they leave fast, if they leave in a long time. Somebody's always looking for a kennel. And so one of the first things we started doing is looking for an airline approved kennel that was going to allow my dog's weight and size on the airplane. So this is one of the major things that's different for everyone. My friend, for example, has a German Shepherd. So the airline you fly through is going to have a specific dimension that you need for your animal according to its weight and size. So for her German Shepherd, my dog and her dog might be the same weight, but because her German Shepherd has very tall ears, it's going to be totally different for her, because she's going to have a 2-inch clearance from the top of that German Shepherd's ears to the roof of the kennel. So whenever searching for a crate, one of the first things I had to do is figure out, what do the airlines say that I need for that crate? What are the requirements that I need for my dog to fit in that crate? Because you can't just throw your huge dog into a small crate, because the airport's going to deny it and you're not going to be able to fly. And so I'm going to link the description below that I use for all of my dimensions and what I'm saying. But whenever we first got Winston, we didn't know necessarily how much he'd weigh. He ended up weighing 80 pounds. And so we had a crate that fit him, but the weight for the crate was 50 to 70 pounds and he was 80. And so we ended up having to buy a bigger crate. It says on this website the exact things that they're wanting. They're going to want your dogs to be able to spin all the way around. They're going to want them to be able to lay flat, stand up without their head touching the top of the ceiling. So this is the picture. So I'm at pettravel.com, and this was a website where I found almost all my information, and this was for pet travel, and it tells you the bolts that you need for the side of the kennel. It's going to tell you, this little image at the bottom is what I was talking about. It's going to show you how much height it needs at the top. It's going to say how far width of their shoulders, how much they need to spin around, all that good stuff. So I'm going to link that in the bottom below so that you can see it yourself. The second thing you're going to have to know to tell your airline is the dimensions of your crate. This is very important, because if you have a large dog, you're going to have to make sure that the airline you're flying through accepts your crate dimensions. So, for example, I have a larger dog, so I had a larger crate. So Winston's crate specifically was 70 to 90 pounds. So that could be a really good room between Winston's weight. He was 80 pounds. It allowed him to fluctuate. His kennel dimensions were 36 by 25 by 27 inches, and the weight of the crate was 20.75 pounds. So whenever we booked our tickets, the airline needed to know all of this information, the dimensions of the crate. He needed to know how much the dog plus the kennel was going to weigh so that he could get accepted on the flight. So like I said, the first thing you want to do is make sure that if you're in an area, especially in Europe, where you might not know where to find a crate or there's limited supply on the military base, as soon as you get that dog and you know about rough size he is, or about 3 months out of your PCS or whenever you're moving, I highly suggest you go ahead and find that crate that's going to work best for you and it's going to work best for the dog so he's comfortable and it's airline approved. So one of the second things I want to talk about is your vet. So whenever we got Winston, he was a puppy. That means we were getting all his booster shots. Every shot was always up to date. We were giving him his monthly heartworm and his monthly flea and tick. But besides just your booster shots, right before you get on the airline, there is a set of rules and regulations and paperwork that your dog or cat needs whenever you are flying back to America. So a great thing is America does not need you to quarantine your animal before they're allowed in the States. Or that was my experience. But one thing that I did is whenever we got Winston, I got actually his breeder gave us a book, and they were so nice, and they just kind of gave us instructions. But I would suggest this with any other dog that we get. We're going to do the same thing. But something that has folds where I can put the papers inside of these so that I can document it. But I had every shot record. I had all his appointments, all his receipts, if we took him because he was sick, if we took him for shots, for his heartworm. I had it in this book so that I knew exactly when he was up to date, when his shots were, and every vet bill, everything. Okay, so this may have changed before I left, but the rules and regulations were 10 days prior or less to your flight, you have to have a vet certify that your dog is airline approved and that is healthy enough to fly. So whenever you go to vet, they're going to go check to make sure he's had all his shots, he has his rabies up to date, he's up to date on his heartworm, and he has no temperature, and he's going to the bathroom well. After our appointment, our vet, and make sure you get this paperwork because your vet provides this paperwork. Your vet's going to sign this paperwork, and this paperwork is going to make sure that your animal gets on the plane. So we had an awesome vet, and they gave us 4 pieces of paper. Their first one says the Department of Army, and it says the veterinary branch. Subject says Certificate of Acclimation. And this is certifying that the vet approves that the dog is allowed on the plane, and he has signed the bottom. The second one that they gave me was an immunization record for canines. And it says my dog's name, it says my husband and I's name, and his microchip number. And then it has all his shot records from whenever he was a puppy. Now I'm sure if they don't have every shot record, they just need an updated shot record saying that he's up to date on his rabies and everything else that America requires for their shots and immunizations. Okay, the third piece of paper is his wellness exam. Now this again has his microchip number, the owner's name, the date that they did this, the doctor, the provider, and it just lists off his objective of his medical exam. It says his drug therapy that they use, teaching counseling for me, follow-up, all these different things. But they also gave me this piece of paper. And then the last one is a veterinary health certificate. So this is saying how much he weighs, how old he is, his owner's phone numbers. It says his microchip number, his lot number, his virus type, his date vaccinated, his vaccinary duration, the veterinarian, and the vet signed the bottom of it. So like I said, this may have changed since I left, but we got these 4 pieces of paper, and the airline, when we showed up, looked at all 4 pieces, especially the veterinary certificate, and to make sure he was up to date on his rabies, so for sure his vaccination record. So our vet did this, and I was so thankful for it because it's crazy when you're PCSing and you're leaving. We didn't have kids, but even if you had kids, that's even more crazier. They printed out 3 copies of each piece of paper for me. Now, the airlines did not take any papers from me. They handed them back. They were just checking. But for my sake, I was able to keep one on my carry-on. I kept a whole thing in a plastic folder on top of Winston's kennel, and then Jon had another one in his backpack, so we always had something on us if they were to say, hey, can I have this paperwork, and we were to lose one or something were to happen. Alright, the next one's super cute, and it's your dog gets a passport. I absolutely love it. I think it's the funniest thing in the world that your dog needs a passport. And so whenever he was a puppy, we went to the vet, and the first thing that they suggest to any American in the military is that you need to go get that dog's passport or cat or bird, whatever, that animal's passport before you PCS so that you do not have to worry about this at all. So what they did is the veterinary clinic that we went to that was military and on post in Vicenza, they gave me a couple of pieces of paper, and I took that piece of paper to a post office, or it had an address on the paper to where I needed to go do this paperwork. So I filled out that paperwork, and I actually went with one of my friends, and we went in to the office. It was a very nice Italian gentleman. I handed him the paperwork. He knew exactly what to do, and right then and there, he gave me this passport, and he went in. This is in Italian, so this is specific to Italy, but he went in and he wrote down all of our street address for Italy, Winston's name, his breed, his microchip number, and his date of birth and all of that. He actually laminated one page, so that's really nice. It does have a place that you could put a picture in, but I honestly really thought I was going to do that, and then I ended up not putting a picture in. But what is very important about this passport is that you, in the back of this passport, are going to have vaccination records in the back, and this is going to tell the airline that your dog is vaccinated. Once again, they're going to need to see this, and even though you have your shot record, before you leave, you need to make sure that your vet has all his most recent up-to-date shots located on here. So my vet, right here, it says the dates that they did it. They put the stickers with the type of shot it was, and it's super easy to navigate and read. And I actually did have a lady ask for his passport twice, two separate ladies, to make sure that he was vaccinated. Alright, so you have your passport, and now you are planning to PCS or to move. And so let's just focus on specifically military. So whenever you're PCSing, specifically from Vicenza, this is what happened to us. This is probably not what's going to happen to you. Everybody's going to have their own experiences, but I want to tell you mine so that you understand where I'm coming from and it can help you. So our experience was whenever Jon, my husband, got his orders saying we were coming to Fort Carson, there was a time period on that saying, this time period before your D-Rose date, you are allowed to go to the travel office, and you can go and start to buy your tickets, start to set up where you're going, and all this different stuff. So my husband, they really were only talking to active duty there, and granted, we were dealing with Italians, so it wasn't Americans. We went into the travel office, and they were asking us all information, all this different stuff. And usually it's super easy. So they're saying, okay, what day you're leaving? And we left in October. So we told them the day that we were leaving in October. And they said, okay, so are you going to Fort Carson directly, or are you taking leave? And in our situation, we were not flying to Fort Carson. We were going to take leave in Oklahoma with my family. Tulsa, Oklahoma International Airport is where we were trying to go. So then they realized that we had a dog. And so it was a whole new set of things that they had to do for us. So it took us a couple of days to try to figure out how are we going to get home, because not every airplane allows a dog. Not every airplane has a specific pressure temporized control area for animals. And so we were trying to find a place where Winston could fly into with us. And unfortunately, where we were taking leave in Tulsa, they did not allow dogs to fly in there because the airplanes were too small to hold his kennel. So our options were to fly straight to Denver, which we didn't really want to do. Jon hadn't been to America since we got married. It was 2 years. He wanted to see his family. I wanted to see my family. And Tulsa was really where we were planning. So we just made sure and kept on to try to see, okay, what can we do to make this work? How can we get Winston Winston from Italy all the way to Tulsa. There were a couple options. We could fly from Vicenza to Paris, from Paris to Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Oklahoma City. And I was like, okay, that's 3 flights that I have to put my dog on, but let's go ahead and think about it. And then there's a second flight that went from Venice to somewhere in Europe, and then from Europe straight to Dallas. And so we were going to be able to fly to Dallas, and then that's about a 4-hour drive. But the issue was, whenever you're going to the travel office, you're going to have an allotted amount of money that they give you and say, okay, this is how much it takes to get to Fort Carson. So that's the amount of money you have to get anywhere else, and anything above that you're going to pay out of pocket. And so we just decided that we were going to do from Venice to Paris, Paris to Atlanta, and Atlanta to Oklahoma City, because that fit our price range, versus the one from Venice to another place in Europe, from Europe to Dallas. It was more pricey, plus we'd have to drive 4 hours afterwards. Okay, so that all being said, after we had booked our tickets, our little reservation number, that it is not, and they made this very clear, the airline's job to approve that that dog is on the plane. Which for me, I was like, okay, so how do I know my dog is going to be on that plane with me? And that is what everybody's going to feel. You're going to be thinking about, okay, I have all my stuff, I have all these bags, we're moving, all our stuff just got shipped away, we've been living in a hotel, all this other stuff, and the last thing you want to think about is your dog being left in Paris. So, yeah. So, that being said, the airline said, okay, we can see that your dog has been accepted on 2 of the 3 flights. So, we flew from Venice to Paris with Air France, and then from Paris to Atlanta with Air France, and then Atlanta to Oklahoma City with Delta. And if I'm correct, Delta and Air France are sister airlines, but they do not connect when it comes to like communication. You just have to connect them separately. So we got approved for Winston on both of the Air France flights. I called and called and called to ask this. Can you please print me out a piece of paper confirming that my dog's on a flight? Can I please have a reference number or conference number for my dog so I know he's on the flights with me, so that when I get there they can't deny him? No, ma'am, that's not what happens. You're just going to have to know that he's accepted and you can show up and he's going to get on the plane. So thank God that I have a God who is faithful to me and who takes care of me, and that I can live in a place of peace and not worry, because in any other situation that would have been so stressful to think that I could potentially show up to the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning and my dog is not allowed on the plane. But I just John and I prayed every single day since the day that we got Winston, that he would just be taken care of, that it would just be super easy, that we wouldn't have any issues, and that's exactly what happened. The airlines do not give you reference number or anything. They just tell you your dog has been accepted on the flight. So, okay, the last flight, he had not been accepted, and I wasn't getting any answers. I was calling Delta constantly, telling them, hey, can you transfer me to someone that I can talk about my dog being confirmed on the flight? We were about 3 weeks out whenever we got our tickets, and so I was calling for that first week. I called every 3 days or every 4 days, both places confirming that my dog was on the flight. And then that last week, I was calling every single day up into my flight, connecting to the right people, talking to the right people, confirming that my dog was on the flight. And that just gave me a lot of peace and reassurance that yes, he's on the flight, that the airplane can see that he is supposed to be on there. So I never got a confirmation on our ticket saying that Delta was allowing Winston on that last flight. But every time I called, they said he was, and it ended up that way. Okay. So we have our tickets. We have confirmation, verbal confirmation that our dog is on the flight. We have the kennel that is his weight and his size. We have the veterinary health certificate and the 3 other papers to go with that. We have his passport, and now we need to figure out what goes in the kennel. So I heard a gazillion different things about what goes in the kennel. Well, this is what worked for me in the airline that I flew with. This is what they told me. They need some sort of material at the bottom of the kennel so if they go to the bathroom, it's able to soak up. And then they need a bowl that my bowls came with my kennel that attached to it that needs water in it. Now, of course, you're not going to get water to sit in that bowl your whole flight home. So my vet just said to put some water in that bowl the night before, freeze it. So whenever you get to the airport, you actually have some ice in there that'll last them a couple hours. So what we did is my husband has this camo soft, really thin blanket that I was able to put in the kennel. I put a chew toy, like a bone that he was able to knot, like a plastic bone he could knot on. And then I also put one of his favorite stuffed animals. It was a hedgehog, and it was so cute. And we named him Hedgie, and Winston loved it. We put him in the kennel too. And that way Winston had something that smelled like home. He had something to chew on if he got bored. Another thing that we did that it was actually recommended by a friend, but nobody told me to do it, is that on the top of his kennel, we taped down a plastic sheet so that we could put a piece of paper under it saying Winston's name, Winston's information, an email address, and our phone numbers, my mom's phone number in case they couldn't get a hold of me. And then at the bottom of that piece of paper, we put his food schedule. So we put how much he usually gets in the morning, afternoon, and night, or however it's applicable to you. So in case he did get stuck somewhere and they were needing to feed him, they knew how much to feed him. And then I did 3 meals in a Ziploc bag, and we just duct taped the crud out of it down to the kennel so that if for some reason something happened, that they would have the food for him, that they wouldn't have to change his diet. And then at the very bottom of that paper, we put our final destination so that if they couldn't get a hold of us or they didn't know the ticket number, all this different stuff, that they could realize that our final destination, where we were ending up, is Oklahoma City. And so that gave me a lot of peace that in case something were to happen, they knew how to contact me without the ticket number, without the sticker and everything. So now this is my story from us leaving and getting to Oklahoma City, okay? So we have everything we need. We have our paperwork and all of that. So we got to the airport, and I will suggest this, get there early because you're never going to know the lines. You're never going to know what's going to happen. You don't know how long the lines are going to be, who's going to know what to do. I had a friend go to the airport, and she said, Michelle, get there so early because I went and it could have taken maybe 30 minutes, but the lady had no idea what she was doing. And so she was trying to figure it out and learn the process, which everybody has to learn. But in that situation, she was really glad she got there early because then she had time to relax. We had our friend stuff her car and take us to the airport with Winston's kennel and our 4 huge bags. And so we went to the airport at oh man, it was probably 2, 3 in the morning. We left and we drove to Venice, which is about an hour away. So we're at the Venice airport and we get there and we're unloading and we show up to the front desk, and it's awesome because we got there so early in the morning that no one was there. We were the first ones up, and the lady was so helpful. She asked us to put the kennel on next to where they would check our bags. So she checked all our bags. She got the kennel up there. She had Winston in it, so she weighed it together. She asked for his passport. She asked for his paperwork. And then after that, we checked our bags, and she gave Winston and the crate back, and we had to go pay for him at a separate window. So I believe for Air France and Delta, we had a one-time €200 fee to get to America. That means all 3 flights were only $200. That wasn't $200 for this flight, $200, $200. No, it was $200 the whole way there. So we went up, got the receipt, and then we can go back, and we gave it to the same lady who checked in our bags. She gave us a piece of paper that approved that we had paid for it, and we took Winston in the kennel to oversized luggage. So this is key. If there's one thing I can remember for all of it, is we picked him up or dropped him off at oversized luggage every single time, everywhere we went. So in Venice specifically, whenever you have like the line to go through security, and to the left of that you can see oversized baggage, oversized luggage, whatever. So we take Winston's kennel and Winston, and we still have Winston out of his kennel. He's on his collar. We're walking through, and they pretty much say, okay, put him in the kennel. So we put Winston in his kennel, zip tied it, said bye, got him through the little security thing, and that was it. We just said goodbye, and then we went on to do our thing. So one thing you need to do every time, and this is what we did not get on the plane unless we had confirmation from the secretary or receptionist or flight attendant who is helping you check your tickets that Winston is on the plane already. So what we did to try to help him out was we let everybody board for the most part. Then we'd be the last people and just say, hey, can you confirm that our dog is under the plane? And it was super simple. They say yes. They would radio, and you could hear them calling back and say, yeah, Black Lab under the plane. Great. So first flight, super easy when we went to Paris. And in Paris, we had, I believe, a 5-hour layover, and we needed it because, my goodness, we got off the plane and we had to pick up all 4 bags in Winston at every layover. So we got our bags, and Winston, sure enough, came out at oversized luggage, oversized baggage, whatever, and nobody was telling us that. We were just kind of waiting. Is he going to come out with his bags or what? So Winston comes out, and we have a long journey to get to all the way to the other side of the airport, and we're wanting to take him out, maybe take him, go to the bathroom. And so we were trying to find scissors or something so we can cut the zip ties off. Nobody would give us scissors. I asked security guards, I asked all these different people, and nobody would help us cut it open. I don't know how you can make this work, but something that maybe keep in your carry-on to cut the zip ties. I know you can't have knives and stuff like that, so maybe you might have to be creative. But John, thank God, he is so creative. He got a little clip from one of my keychains and opened it so it was a flat, and he was able to stick it in and get the zip ties to come undone. So this way we were able to keep both zip ties, get Winston out of the crate, and everything was fine. He was so happy. I mean, granted, this is his first flight, but he acted like nothing was wrong. He took a nap. He was good to go. So flashback for just a second. John, the night before, was going to stay up all night so he could sleep. And he kept Winston up all night. So he went on a walk for like 2-3 hours. He made sure he went to the bathroom, all this different stuff. So he was set and exhausted for those flights. So anyway, we're trekking all the way across the airport. And the great thing is we could just keep Winston's leash in my backpack. So whenever we got Winston, we could just clip it onto his collar. And we were actually able to walk Winston through the airport with our bags in his kennel so that he can get his legs going and everything else. So we get to the check-in counter for our next place, and exactly like the other one, she asked for our bags, so we checked in our bags, and then she asked for Winston's paperwork. She saw him compared to the kennel, and then she directed us to the place to where Winston could go and where they would load him up. Gave him just a little bit of food, just a little bit of water, not much at all, just something to keep his stomach going. And he was super happy, doing totally fine. So we go, put him back in the kennel, zip tie it together, and they do all the work after that. Same thing as our first flight. We didn't get on until Winston was confirmed that he was under the plane, and then we were going to go. Especially here, could you imagine if we were on the plane and we get to Atlanta and he's not there and he's still in Paris? Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. So we're in Atlanta, and there was 2 oversized baggage. One was without a desk. Nobody was there. Then the other one was with a desk. And I was standing at one while John was getting the bags together because we had to recheck our bags again. And I hear a bark from across the luggage baggage area, and sure enough, there's Winston in his kennel all the way across the thing. So John and I get all our bags, and we go to the oversized luggage in Atlanta where there's a lady with a desk. She didn't even confirm if we were his owners or not. We just grabbed him and left. And so just down this, like, after you get your bags in Atlanta, you walk a little bit further and you recheck your bags. In that same area where they're rechecking your bags, we had a guy who confirmed that he was all his paperwork. He confirmed everything again. We actually, we weren't able to take Winston to go to the bathroom because our layover was so short. So we put Winston back in the kennel. He checked all the paperwork. He like bomb swept the outside of the crate, all this different stuff. And so we gave Winston a little bit of water and we were off. We went directly to our gate in Atlanta. And again, this was our flight with Delta. So this is the one I never got confirmation with over tickets, but I did verbally. And so we actually were the last ones on and said, okay, well, we don't really want to get on unless he's on the plane. Well, we ended up getting on, and because the flight attendant was like, it's going to be a second, let's just go ahead and get you on the plane so we can get everything ready, and we won't leave until your dog is confirmed. So I stood up the whole time. I was standing next to the bathroom. We went to our seats, but I could just kind of stood there. I never got buckled because I was like, girlfriend, if my dog is not under the plane, I'm not going to Oklahoma City. So the flight attendant was super nice. I was telling her our story about how much we traveled that day, and she confirmed quickly and easily that the dog was under the plane, that Winston was ready to go. And so we flew to Oklahoma City, and there it was easy peasy. We got all our bags, and then sure enough, right behind us in oversized luggage, there was Winston in his kennel, little happy pants. He did so great. We did not use any drugs. The vet offered, because the vet offered if we wanted to, because they prescribe dogs with anxiety or like separation anxiety for some medicine to help them go to sleep. And we opted against it because we just wanted Winston to be totally aware of what was going on, and he did so good. He got out of the kennel and he was not sad or sick or depressed at all. He was super happy. Jon was taking care of the bags. I went outside and he went to the bathroom and it was great. And then my parents actually came, drove to Oklahoma City, picked up all our luggage, got there, all 4 pieces. Winston's crate was intact and Winston was a happy dog. And so that being said, if I were to recap the main things that I thought that I wish would have made it easier for me, is knowing that my dog was coming out of oversized luggage everywhere I went. And 2, it's that if you are able to get your dog out in between flights, now this is just for the airlines we use, that we needed something to open the zip ties. And I'm sure in Atlanta, if we asked, they would have given us some scissors, but in France, they weren't giving us any scissors, and that was the time we wanted to get him out of the kennel. And so the next thing is, before this, make sure that this flight isn't your first time your dog's ever been in a crate. If they do not understand that that's a safe place, that is going to be a lot harder than you might think to get them in there for them to be happy. Winston's crate, even though it was chunky and in the middle of the living room, was always open for him to go sleep in. And when he was a puppy, he was crate trained, so he knew that that was a safe place. And whenever it was time for him to lay down for a bit, we'd tell him to go get in his kennel. He would go in there on his own sometimes or at night. And so he understood that his kennel is a really good place for him to be. There's no danger in there. It's not a place for him to get in trouble. It's just a place of relaxation. And I think that was a huge help. So guys, I really hope this video helped you today. We are so excited to be back in America. We loved our time in Europe. And I know that for those military spouses out there, that you are wanting to get your baby back and you might be stressing out, but know that I had a really great experience. And even though it was sometimes frustrating trying to get some information, it all worked out in the end. Just keep pushing, just keep trying to connect with people, and just know that God's going to take care of you and your little dog and your family as you travel back to America. So thanks again, guys, for watching Living with J&M. Today, I know it was a longer video, but I think it's super necessary for YouTube because I wish I would have had this information. If you guys have any questions at all, please, please, please put it in the comments. I will answer. I will reply. I can give you my email so I can give you more information. If you liked this video and it helped you, please go down and like and subscribe. I will be posting more videos like this from our experiences to help you. And so again, we're so thankful for our subscribers. We love that we can make videos for you, and we'll see you next time.